Now, we spent a lot of time on this state here, and I showed a lot of alternatives, but up to this point, of course, we're not doing too much with that state. That's what I want to change now, though. Now, I want to make sure that this form can be submitted when this button is pressed, and that then we basically gather these different state slices here and combine them into one object, which for the moment is then just logged to the console, but which we can use for different things later. And therefore, we want to listen to the form being submitted. Now, we could add a click listener here to this Add Expense button, but this would not be the best way of listening here. Because indeed, there is a default behavior built into the browser and built into forms on web pages. If a button, especially with type submit, is pressed inside of a form, this overall form element will emit an event to which we can listen. And that's the submit event. So it's on this form where I want to react to on submit and then execute some function whenever this form is being submitted. Now that's a function I'll add here, and I'll name it submit handler, like this. And then here we just point at submit handler as we did it for all the other events as well. Now the thing here is that I just said that this is a default browser behavior, and unfortunately a part of this default browser behavior is that if you do click this button, the page reloads, because the browser actually automatically sends a request whenever a form is submitted to the server which is hosting this web page. So in this case, to this development server. And that's not what we want here. Instead here, we want to handle this form submission with JavaScript and manually collect and combine the data and do something with it. Thankfully, we can disable or prevent this default behavior, because we again get an event object here automatically, just as for the change events. And on this object, we can call a prevent default method. This is built into JavaScript, nothing React specific. This is default JavaScript behavior. We can prevent the default of this request being sent. And since that request is not sent, the page will now also not reload, because we stay on the currently loaded page without sending any request anywhere, and we can continue handling this with JavaScript. So therefore now we can create our, let's say, expense data object here, and now combine all that entered data. Of course, if you used this one state instead of three states approach, you already have such a combined object. But I don't have that here, so I will now create it once the form is submitted, and simply add a title here, and set this to the value stored in the entered title state, add an amount property, and set this to entered amount, and a date property, and actually set this to a new date, constructing a new date with the built-in date constructor, to which then in turn I pass the entered date, which will parse that date string and convert it into a date object. Now these property names here, title, amount, and date, are up to you because this is your object. This here, of course, entered title, entered amount, and entered date, points at these state variables, so to say. If you used the combined approach, you also might want to remap the property names, because later in the app I will rely on having a title, amount, and date property name. So make sure that these property names exist and hold the correct value. And then for the moment I will just console log expense data, so that we can see that. Now if we reload this and enter test and $12.99, and then pick some date here, if I click add expense, that's looking good. We got this object which has all that data stored. So this now also works, and we are reacting to the form submission. Now I also want to clear the inputs to delete the entered values when that form is submitted.